Hey, what is up, you guys? Welcome to Bleach Boys number 5. We are officially starting the, I don't know, do we decide Visored arc?
Yeah,
is what we disguise. The first appearance of the Arrancars. One of those, the good arc, is what we're starting. Where we last left off, we officially finished the Bount arc. They had a lot of self-introspection about Karia and his motives. We do get to see a little bit more of the mod souls in the beginning of this arc, which are filler characters. But they do make appearances in here because they kind of keep the
they got cruising into it. Yeah,
the appearance up that like, hey, these characters aren't just for that one arc, which they do mention that the mods are like, well, you know, we were only made for the Bount, so we're just gonna hang out. It's like, okay,
they wrote themselves off.
They really did. They really did. So we start off first episode of the new like Visored arc. We see Grand Fisher.
Okay, so I was right.
Yeah, we immediately see Grand Fisher, and we see his he's evolved, his new evolution thing. He's getting work done.
He's like giant or something, right?
Yes, yes. And so I don't know if you know this, Jose, but in the manga they show this part, the fact that he survives and like evolves, like becomes like a better version of himself.
Hollow, yeah.
Immediately after the first one.
Oh, I don't remember that.
They immediately showed it in the manga, like because I was looking through the first like omnibus, and they show that instantly after the fight, which is crazy. And I feel like they probably plucked that part out and put it in here. That way, it's more in line like with Aizen doing the experiments. It makes more sense. We get Tatsuki asks, so they're back at school, you know, so we get to see Tatsuki.
Yeah.
And she's asking Ichigo how the assignment is going. Because, you know, they had an assignment due during summer break. They were a little busy.
They weren't there.
A little busy because canonically, you know, that would have been Soul Society invasion stuff. And he asks him, so Tatsuki immediately is like, hey, you know, how's the summer project going, yada yada. And it's like, hey, what about that weird red bag that you have like hanging off of you? And so Ichigo's dad gave him a red bag. Yeah. Okay. See, I didn't remember this part either, Jose. Ichigo's dad gave him a lucky charm. Huh. So, and he basically sewed it onto his uniform.
Fucking Isshin, dude.
And so I don't remember this lucky charm thing at all, but it's there and it's sewed on a thing because the next thing that she asks is what the skull badge is you have hanging off. So, and immediately Ichigo's like, you know, it's nothing. But then he's like, wait, it's like, you can see it? It's like, so
the fact that she can see it.
Yeah. Because apparently the badge contains, this is Ukitake explains this. We had a little bit of a flashback. It contains a great power. So they've done a, like a visual barrier on it to stop others who are not Soul Reapers from seeing it.
Oh, okay.
So the fact that she can see it is like, wait a second. And I think this is the first time that Ichigo would know that Tatsuki can see stuff.
she's soul sensitive or whatever.
Yeah, I think this is the first time he figures that out. So class gets called into session at that point, and then we do the classic Chad, Orihime, and Ichigo. They all run off to go fight a hollow because you know they just do whatever the fuck they want. And they kill this no-name hollow, and they do mention, it's like, yeah, it's weird, Ishida hasn't come with us in a while now. I was like, do you think we should check on him?
Oh, okay. Are they going to explain that if he's going to get his powers back?
So this does come up almost first episode. I don't know if you remember it. The first episode, we get to see both Uryū's dad and Ichigo's dad.
Yeah.
Actually, we just see Uryū's dad first episode. Second episode is Isshin's dad. And that's how the arc starts. Boom, boom.
It just goes straight in.
Yeah. So Ichigo, being the kind soul that he is, he's just like, yeah, well, he doesn't have power, so of course he's not going to come with us. Like, what a dumb question.
He's not going to hang out,
But he does say, I'm sure he'll figure something out. Like, you know, he'll figure out how to get him back. He's smart. And then we get our first appearance of Shinji, like actually following them. So we did see the introduction of him, but this is like the first time in the main series that we do see him. He's chilling upside down above them, like watching them.
Oh, that's right. He can do that. I always forget.
Yeah. And he knows Ichigo's name because immediately. And then this part is where the one I mentioned a little bit earlier. We see the mod souls are just hanging out in Urahara shop.
They're just chilling.
And this is where they kind of say like, oh, we kind of did our job, you know, so we're just going to hang out. We're just going to have fun.
That's dope, though. They're still there.
And there's a new transfer student that's coming into Ichigo's class. Do we remember, Jose? Take your guess. Your memory is outstanding. Who is the transfer student?
Transfer student?
Yeah, we're getting a new transfer student.
Is it Ikaku and the rest of the gang?
It is not. It's Shinji. Shinji gets transferred into the class.
I forget.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and he tricks the teacher into writing his name in reverse. So very early on, they're like hammering the
that
upside down, the reverse, so you could realistically pick up on his like whole Bankai shtick and all that stuff.
I mean, his Bankai is all right.
It's a worse version of Aizen's.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then later we get Ichigo's talking to Kon, And Kon is like, and I thought this part was very funny, which is why I want to bring this up. He says he misses being in Ichigo's body, and it's been a really long time since, like, he's actually been used as a mod, so like for his Gigai. And he says that he misses being able to go around and creeping on girls without it affecting his own reputation.
Oh, so Ichigo's a creep now.
Yeah, Ichigo's like, oh, you better be fucking joking. It's like, so
I forgot about that.
So right after he does say that, though, another hollow does show up, and Ichigo has to switch bodies with Kon.
And he loves it.
Yeah. And so Ichigo ends up meeting with I don't know his name, but like the Afro Soul Reaper who like replaced Rukia.
Originally, yeah.
So he has a talk with him, but then Shinji appears behind him and tries to attack Ichigo. Like immediately tries to attack Ichigo.
I remember they fight, and
yes.
what's her name? Hiyori comes out soon.
So yes, but that's much after the first fight, because it's the very first fight where Shinji just shows up, attacks Ichigo from the back. Ichigo blocks it, and then they fight a little bit. We cut back to Kon, and he's immediately leaving with Ichigo's body. He's like, it's like about time,
he's about
baby.
to go peek.
So, and then, of course, we get the shot of Kon leaving the house. He's like, I'm going to go have some fun. And Grand Fisher comes out from the sky, and he's like, Ichigo.
It's late at night, right?
It is late at night, yes.
Yeah.
And he says, Ichigo Kurosaki, and then he blasts Kon, like, right in the back. It sends him flying. And Kon sees him, because I don't know if you remember, Kon was at the original fight with Grand Fisher.
Yeah.
So he recognized him. He's like, oh, fuck.
He's like, oh, I'm fucked.
Grand Fisher. So then we cut back to real Ichigo. I took a lot of notes here, you guys. It's going to be a long boy.
That's okay.
Because I thought I was going to get to take it a little bit easy. It was like, oh, new arc,
It's going to ease into it.
It's going to ease in. They're not going to completely dump all of the lore on you right at the start. They do. They dump it on you right at the start. So Ichigo at this point is demanding how Shinji, like, he basically wants to know who Shinji is. Like, who are you really? Because he knows him because he's a transfer student. He met him in the class. And so he's like, who are you really?
Doesn't Shinji have, like, that thing on his tongue, too?
Yeah, he does. So Shinji's like, yeah, sure, try and guess who I am. And then he summons his hollow mask. So we get to see the first summoning of Shinji's hollow mask almost instantly.
That's like the best. I remember that.
Yeah. And then he explains how he's one of the Soul Reapers that tried to cross over into the hollow realm, or into the realm of hollows, I think is how he words it. And he's a Visored, and says Ichigo's one of them also, and you don't belong with the Soul Reapers. Like, you belong with us. He's basically trying to get Ichigo to join him. And I don't know if you know this, Jose. Maybe I'm just a complete idiot. How do you spell Visored?
Vizard.
Okay, so I always thought it was like that as well. And I always went with more of a Vaizord or something like that. It's literally just like a visor with an ED at the end. Oh. So, like, there's literally, the name is their Visored. Like, they're wearing a visor.
And they just pull it down.
Visored. They're Visored. It's like they put their visor on, they're Visored. I didn't realize that. So I think it's the correct spelling is Visored. Just like you're wearing a visor, but with an ED at the end. Visored. I don't know. I was blown away by that. I always thought it was literally like another word for something, but it's literally just visor over their fucking face. So the more you know. I thought it was.
They can pull it up.
I thought it was much cooler, but it's literally just the word visor with ED on the end on it. So we cut over to Ishida now. He is also getting attacked by Hollow, who he believes to be some sort of a weird Menos Grande, but not like the big one, but like kind of a weird, like a
tiny mutated version one.
Ishida's trying to fight this thing. He has a couple of saved up abilities or like strategies to fight Hollows.
Yeah, I remember he had some like little stuff to like fight something.
Yeah, but it ain't doing shit, And it basically leads to Ishida. He's about to get killed. All right, about to get killed by Hollow. The Hollow tongue is coming out. We see a blue energy classic Bleach move.
Has Papa.
Shoot out, and it's his dad. So his dad shows up, and he probably has a sweet fucking entrance. He's just standing. He's like, "Yo, what up?"
Like, yeah, his dad was pretty sick.
His dad is sweet as fuck. So he literally just shows up, and that's where the first episode ends. He shows up. We see it's Ishida's dad. It's not Isshin. And that's where it ends. Like, okay, fuck yeah. So here's something interesting to know, Jose. At this point, we have only seen Uryū's dad show up, okay? There's a brand new end sequence that starts with this episode. So we get a new ending theme. And immediately, I'm talking first image that shows up for this new end credit scene, we see Isshin as a Soul Reaper.
Oh, does he have like the thing wrapped around his arm? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I remember that.
He's in Soul Reaper form in the end credits, and we have not seen him at all.
Wow, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
I would have waited.
I was like, holy shit. It's like, that is a huge spoiler.
I'd be so mad.
Spoiler alert for this recap, we do see him in the next episode, But still, it's like, holy shit. Like, they just spoiled that before it even begins. And then a double addendum, okay? If they didn't spoil that enough for you, they do the preview for next time.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
And I don't remember if they show Isshin as a Soul Reaper in that preview for next time. But they do have Ichigo narrating over it, and then the girl mod soul that I can't remember her name.
The little blonde one, right?
Yeah, the bird stuffed animal. And they're talking to Ishida while narrating over this preview for next time. And she's basically like, wow, I didn't know your dad was a Quincy too. And Ichigo goes, wow, okay. So Ichigo, I think, said something along these lines. Wow, you're both a Quincy? I'm so sorry for you. Like, joking. Like, oh, that must really suck. And then the girl mod says, quiet, don't be such a hypocrite.
Implying that his dad.
Yeah, and Ichigo goes, wait, what? And she goes, shh, it's a secret. And that's how it ends.
How's that a secret when they just showed it at the end?
I was like, holy shit, we're really hammering down here that, hey, in case you guys didn't pick up on the picture,
Ichigo's daddy's
his dad is also, I was like, fucking hell, we're spoiling the shit out of that. So we start the next episode, and we cut back to Uryū's dad immediately, and he basically one-shots the Hollow.
Yeah, I remember he was powerful as fuck.
Instantly. And he goes, yeah, instant regeneration isn't that impressive. You just kill them before they have to use it. It's like, damn, okay. Because he was having problems with the Hollow regenerating body parts. And he's like, yeah, I just one-shotted him. So there you go.
So
it's
just
like,
go straight for the dome.
Yeah. And so Uryū is like, yo, why are you using your Quincy powers? You said you didn't want them. And his dad goes, nope. I chose my words very carefully. He's like, what I said was that I had no interest in it and you had no talent for it. It was like, oh, fuck. It's like, we going in, boys. We going in. And so he continues to go on. We get a lot of talking between the two Ishidas. All right. He goes on to say, unfortunately, his powers aren't as disposable as his. So he's like, otherwise, he would have lost them a long time ago. So basically, like, if he could have done the same choice that Uryū did, he would have done it on purpose to get rid of it. And then he says, which I don't know if you remember this, Jose. This blew me away. Uryū's grandpa chose him to pass on the powers. So they chose Ishida's dad. Yeah. So when because apparently there's something for like when Quincy dies, you kind of like pass on your abilities and your powers
to your offspring.
He chose his dad instead of Uryū.
So then Uryū was just like a backup then.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, I'll teach you how to use your powers, but you know, you ain't as cool.
He's like, listen, he called him by name, but just Uryū's grandpa. He's like, he chose me as the person to bequit all of his powers and skill to. And he said only one man is fit to call himself the last Quincy, and that's me. And
damn, dude.
And that's when Uryū's dad pulls out the Quincy symbol that his the grandfather used.
Gave him.
And so that's when Uryū's like, oh shit, I guess it's true.
He's like, wow, Uryū was a fuck up this whole time.
And so Uryū's dad goes on to continue to roast him and says, basically, you weren't ready. So you went to the Soul Society, lost your powers. You were so blinded by pride, you sacrificed everything and accomplished nothing.
Damn, dude, he's just straight up grilling him.
He absolutely obliterates him, but it's one of those things, you know, Jose.
He needs to hear it, though.
I'm going to knock you down so I can build you back up.
Yeah.
That's basically what we're getting at, because he then does last sentence say, if you have, he's basically like, listen, trust me, I have the ability to restore all of your powers and get back everything you lost in the Soul Society.
I remember he goes into like training or something with him, right?
Yeah. So Uryū's dad offers that to him, which sounds like a great deal. Yeah. Wonderful. But he does say he does have one condition, and you must swear to never associate with the Soul Reaper again.
Clearly he doesn't listen.
Which we all know that's not going to happen, because, and I don't remember what the logic is he uses to get around that, but I do remember he does like agree and then disobey. So at this point, we come back to Kon, who is running around in Ichigo's body. So we'll just refer to him as Kon for the rest of this, but he is in Ichigo's body. Important to remember. He's running from Grand Fisher. They eventually end up in downtown because that's where the big fight takes place.
Yep.
And Grand Fisher, the whole time, he does not know it's not actually really Ichigo.
So he still thinks it's Ichigo. It's just he can't tell it's Kon.
But he keeps asking him. He's like, yo, why aren't you going Soul Reaper?
Oh, like, he's like, just begging for the fight.
Yeah, he's like, go to your Soul Reaper form and fight me. Like, take me on. Like, because he's all new powerful now.
Does he look gigantic still? Or is he
yes,
not?
He's big.
Okay.
He's big.
I remember he got huge.
Yeah. So
do we see him in his Arrancar form basically? Or is
I would imagine this is basically it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say yes. So the mod souls, okay, they
come back.
Yes, they see Kon being chased by Grand Fisher from Urahara's shop, and they just kind of show him for a second. They're like, oh look, and they see.
They don't say anything.
Yeah. So Kon starts to fall after being knocked off a building, and just then he's snatched up by somebody.
Yeah.
It's the mod souls. They do go and help out.
They do go help out.
They switch to their gi guys really quick,
Okay,
so in their human forms.
Damn, that sucks. Kon couldn't get a gi guy.
Yeah, no. And they do roast Kon by going like, wow, the hollow must be pretty fast to keep up with you since all you do is run away.
Yeah.
It's like, shit. It's basically the first few episodes are just people roasting each other back and forth nonstop.
I like it so far.
Yeah. So Grand Fisher eventually finds them, and the girl mod soul is like, listen, I got a plan. And they run around the corner, and she casts an illusion. And so they cast an illusion, making it look like a desert. It almost looks like Hueco
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't make sense because they wouldn't know what that looks like, so let's just say it's a regular desert. And then Ichigo shows up, like in Soul Reaper form.
Okay, so actually, so that's still the illusion.
That's the illusion, because if you forget the mod soul abilities, one is to make an illusion, one is to transform into somebody, and one is to teleport and like open portals and stuff. And of course, as I explained, that's the kind of their idea. They got the illusion, they got the guy transforming to Ichigo because he gets his battle abilities. Remember, he gets his talent and whatever.
That's a good fucking power. Yeah.
So they try to kind of do that combo, which they've done before. Does not work well here because Grand Fisher immediately just knocks the mod soul away and shatters the illusion almost instantly. And then he continues to chase after Kon, who at this point is booking it. He's like, he's
every man
hauling
for himself.
ass. Yeah. Jumps after Kon, finally grabs him, has him grabbed in his fist, tells him, listen, I have better things to do than to chase you around and wait for you to turn into your Soul Reaper form. So slams Kon to the ground and says, if you want to die like a coward in your human form, so be it. He goes to crush Ichigo when a blue barrier gets put up around like the body.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, okay. So I didn't remember this either. I was very confused by what's going on. But of course, it's Isshin, Ichigo's dad, for those of you who don't know or aren't cool and know him by name. And
we're on first base.
He goes like, see, I always told you to keep that with you. And he's referring to the lucky charm.
So it's a barrier.
Yeah. And he says, and at this point, Ishida's like, hey, sorry to disappoint, but Ichigo's a little busy right now. So, and he's like, I know I'm not much of a substitute, but allow me to entertain you. And then he introduces himself to Grand Fisher as Ichigo's dad. So he does mention, and I don't know, I do have it in here, but before that, we cut back to a little bit more Shinji and Ichigo. We're kind of cutting between multiple fights here. The Uryū fight's done. We won't be going back to that one. But we do cut back to Shinji and Ichigo, who are still fighting. And they both, at this point, sense Ichigo's dad. They both sense him.
Does Ichigo realize it's his dad, though?
No, right? He does not. And Shinji, they kind of hint towards, has sensed both Grand Fisher and Isshin for a while now. Like, he knew about the hollow for sure for a while. Even the one with Uryū, he was talking to Ichigo and kind of nudged, like, oh, you don't feel it, do you?
Ichigo's just kind of dense at that.
Yes. Yeah. He's not good at sensing the stuff. And so Ichigo basically says out loud, like, what is that power? And Shinji's like, it seriously took you that long, like, to figure that out. And Shinji says he knows that one is a hollow, but the other massive pressure isn't a Soul Reaper he recognizes. So Ichigo immediately leaves, tells Shinji to take his visor crap and leave town because he doesn't give a fuck. He's not going to join you.
Yeah.
And that's when we cut back to Isshin, and he is already explaining that, hey, I'm Ichigo's dad. And then he throws the lucky charm, like the red bag, back to Kon and says that he actually made it for Kon.
Oh, so he knew the whole time, yeah.
Yeah. And he says, and so Kon is like, how do you know who I am? He basically explains ever since the first day when he was in Ichigo's body, which is the cemetery where Grand Fisher. He never once called him Ichigo. Never once.
Oh, you're fucking right. Yes. He didn't.
So, and then he's like, yeah, if you don't believe me, just ask those three over there. And he's referring to the Mozzles who were hiding behind a bush. And they're like, hey, it's like, what's up?
Fuck. I forget Isshin's that badass.
Oh, yeah. Big time. So Grand Fisher is like, yo, sorry. It's like, I understand you're his dad, but I'm only here for Ichigo. But if you're his dad, you must know where he is, so tell me. Because he just wants to fight Ichigo. Yeah, that's all he wants.
Because Ichigo wounded him, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ichigo fucked him up. And then Isshin is like, listen, it doesn't matter if you don't want to fight because I've come here to fight you. So it's a little bit of a problem if you don't want to put up a fight. And so Grand Fisher finds that hilarious, just like you. And he's like, really, an ordinary Soul Reaper thinks he can take me on, which as we know,
he's a captain.
He is not an ordinary Soul Reaper. And so at this point, Grand Fisher transforms into an even bigger version of himself. So he was big already. I would say he's about 4 humans tall when he first shows up.
Is this when he releases his Zanpakutō thing?
Yes, and he becomes really big.
So he releases...
Like, he becomes like a skyscraper big almost. Like, a little less than that. Maybe like a 10-story building or something.
His is just like where the mask is just split open in his face.
Yes. He looks weird. He looks really weird. And Cone basically sees this and he's like, yo, he looks just like the Menos before. And Grand Fisher gets offended by that. It's like, how dare you compare me to the weakling, blah, 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 blah. And Isshin cuts him off and says, Arrancar. So Isshin clearly knows
so
of
he
the word
knows
Arrancar,
what they are, yeah.
Because Grand Fisher was in the middle saying, like, how dare you compare me to those weaklings of Menos? I'm a... And then Isshin's like, Arrancar. And then he explains a group of Halls trying to gain Soul Reaper powers by removing their masks. And at that point, Grand Fisher pulls out his giant sword. I don't know if you remember, his sword is giant.
Yeah, he had a gigantic one.
Insanely big. And he explains that the size of your Zanpakutō is related to the amount of spiritual pressure you have.
Yeah.
So the fact that his is so huge is like, yo.
I have a lot. He's big dickin'.
Big dick spiritual pressure. Big dick. And he tells Isshin, he's like, because he sees Isshin's tiny baby sword.
Yeah, he's got like the little like.
And he's like, listen, if you're a Soul Reaper, you should at least know your lore because that tiny thing on your side ain't gonna do shit to me, bro. And so at this point, Grand Fisher goes to finally stab Isshin. He's like, I've had enough. I'm gonna take you out. They cut to the sky. At this point, you don't really get to see what happens, but we cut back to Grand Fisher. He does the classic, impossible. Yeah. And this is when we get the explanation from Isshin. Once a Soul Reaper reaches the level of captain, they gain the ability to control the size of their swords.
Yep, we've heard that before.
Because if they didn't control the size, they would swing around swords the size of skyscrapers.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So he leaves Grand Fisher with one last bit of knowledge and like, hey, never judge your opponent by the size of their Zanpakutō. And then he sheathes his sword and Grand Fisher gets cut in two.
Yeah.
So it's like we didn't know what happened.
That, yeah.
They do the classic anime thing. Grand Fisher starts to like fade away, and he's like, "Don't talk about lore until you at least learn that." It's like, sorry, dude.
Fucking Isshin, dude, total badass.
He is so cool. He's so cool. And that's when we hear off screen someone finally asks, some unknown person, like, "Oh, have you avenged her?" Urahara shows up, which I don't remember this part.
Yeah, he does show up. I do remember that.
Yeah, he shows up and he basically goes like, "Hey, it's been a long time since I've seen you in that
hey,
form,
buddy,
my
yeah."
friend." Like how, and so they chat a little bit. Urahara says that he doesn't blame him for the fact that his spirit energy withered up. Talking about Isshin because he hasn't used it for such a long time. Mm-hmm. And he does ask, like, hey, how's it feel to be a Soul Reaper again after 20 years?
Fuck.
So he's never been a Soul Reaper in the 20 years. Then he asks Isshin if he's noticed, and Isshin's like, yes, they made contact with him. So I think he knows that the Visors made contact with Ichigo. And then he does explain them. They call them the Masked Army. The Visoreds is what they call them as. A gang of Soul Reapers who attempted to gain hollow powers. And then the only thing Isshin knows at the moment is that the Visors and the Arrancar are not working together. Yeah. So he doesn't know if they're good, if they're bad. He just knows they're not working together at this point in time.
The enemy of my enemy is my enemy.
Yeah. They also state that Visors don't trust any Soul Reapers. They hate the Soul Reapers, don't trust them, don't like them. And if they've shown up and made contact with Ichigo, it must mean they're preparing for battle. So, and they still don't know what the battle is, but they just know that they're preparing for battle. Isshin says that they've been aware of Arrancar popping up for quite a while now, but they've always kind of been stuck at the same level, so they haven't been like the biggest threat. But Grand Fisher was different, as in he had much more power than the normal level of Arrancars. So he says that must mean Aizen made a deal with the would-be Arrancar to help them out. So Grand Fisher was nothing but a prototype who was basically sent out to get data. They're like, yeah, it's like, dude, you're really strong now. Go out there, man.
Go ahead, buddy. Just
like,
swing that giant sword.
Whoever you want. It'll be so good.
Kill the strawberry.
Yeah. So he goes out there and gets wrecked because And Urahara says it would take another year for Aizen's Hogyoku to be at full power. And that's when we get Isshin once again saying once Aizen perfects his research, he will mobilize the true Arrancars and a massive army of Menos, and they will conquer the world. So they're like, yeah, once he completes that.
Is that really what he wants? I don't remember if that's what Aizen actually wants.
Well, I think we know that is not what he wants, because I think he wanted to get the Soul King or something, right?
He wants to get to the Soul King, yeah.
But that's what they're kind of assuming is his goal. He will get perfected Arrancars and then a huge army of Menos, and they will just come and take over everything. Yeah, which is kind of accurate. But he doesn't ever really use a big army of Menos, but whatever.
I mean, he takes his Espada, and that's about it.
Yeah. So they do eventually end their conversation by saying that there will be a full-scale battle with all parties involved, no matter what happens. Damn. And that's when Isshin senses a spiritual pressure coming this way, and Urahara's like, yeah, it's Ichigo. It'll probably cause you some problems if he sees you like this. So, scram.
Scooch.
And that's when we cut to another meeting with the captains, which we don't get to see what they talk about here. Literally just that they're having a meeting, and then it cuts back to Ichigo. I thought that was weird. So I just noted that because they made like meeting, and then they cut away instantly. And
they probably sensed the Arrancars there and were like, oh, shit, we got to send, I think Hitsugaya's crew.
We see next day Ichigo kind of thinking, he's like, I couldn't figure out who that spiritual pressure he was looking for because they were basically gone before he could arrive.
Yeah.
And we see Shinji. He shows up to school the next day, just like normal. He's just like,
he's like, hey, I attacked you yesterday, but hey,
yeah,
I'm
and
here.
that's when he gets pulled aside by Ichigo because like, yeah, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, come on. And so Shinji says he hasn't given up. It's like, yeah, listen, I haven't given up on recruiting you just yet, and I'll follow you around until you say yes. So
Jesus, I remember how annoying he was.
Yeah. And he says besides, so Shinji kind of explains the visored symptoms and stuff here. He says besides, it's too late. Once symptoms appear, visors can never be normal again. So you're kind of already on our side, Ichigo. And then he says sooner or later you're going to be swallowed up by the hollow inside of you because you will lose your sanity. And when that happens, your power will destroy everything around you. Your friends, your future, and even your identity will be blown to smithereens. So it doesn't sound like a good time.
I mean, worth it?
Yeah. And this whole time, Ichigo's just like, nah.
Yeah, Ichigo.
Yeah. He's just being dumb.
Yeah. Dumb bitch.
Shinji's walking home, and he's like, fuck, I couldn't do it. And that's when he gets kicked into the back, and we get the first appearance of, what's his name? Hitomi? What was there? Hiyori?
Hiyori's the little blonde one.
Yeah, I think it's Hiyori. And she's basically pissed it's taking him so long to recruit Ichigo. Yep. She's like, what the fuck is taking so long? He's like, she's
the one in the like, red jumpsuit, right?
Yeah. And so they kind of have their classic squabble, and Orihime and Chad show up. I don't know if you remember this.
No, I don't. Well, no, yeah, I do remember Orihime being there in Chad.
Yeah, so Orihime shows up, and she's basically like, hey, I want to know what you want with Ichigo.
Yeah.
Because Ichigo won't tell me. It's like, she hasn't asked, but she's like, if I ask Ichigo, he's just going to tell me it's nothing to worry about, and then just kind of write me off. So Hiyori introduces herself and says, unfortunately, she can't answer any of your questions, and it might be better if we just kill you here. So she goes to slash Orihime.
Ooh, fuck.
Yeah, but Shinji kind of grabs her and runs off.
Yeah. He picks her up and runs, right?
And he does mention, it's like, listen, if we're trying to recruit Ichigo, killing his friends is not going to do us any favors.
Yeah, he'll just make him angry.
Yeah. Finally, we get to see Uryū. He goes to meet his dad in his office.
Is he all emo right now?
Not really, but he goes to confront his dad, and he's like, listen, I've thought about it. I want you to restore my Quincy powers back to me. If you do, I give you my word I won't do anything with Soul Reapers or their allies. And then he swears this on his life. So I don't remember what he does to get around that, but weird.
Yeah, very, very. I don't remember either. Yeah. It's just like, because we see him when they open up the Senkai Mon and then go to Hollow.
Yes.
Wekamundo, but I don't remember what he does.
So we cut to Ichigo. He walks inside of his house. We get the classic welcome home, Ichigo. Tries to get a drop kick, except it's an elbow this time, and he gets elbowed right in the face, and it actually lands.
It actually landed.
Like normally he'll dodge. The father will be sent flying.
Yeah. I love
lands, and it's like it hits, and then his whole family's like, "Are you okay? It's like, is something wrong with you, Ichigo?" Because he normally dodges, or like we'll hit him back. And so Ichigo just basically walks off and is just like, no, I'm fine. I'll be in my room until dinner.
Emo.
Yeah, he's emo. And this point, we get a really nice scene with Kon, because Kon like immediately starts calling him out and is like, dude, and he kind of tries to snitch out Isshin. By the way, I don't know if you
he does. I remember
Kon
he tries
to snitch him out, and he's like, hey, tell me about your old man. Did you notice him acting any differently when you saw him down there?
Oh, my God. Fucking Kon, dude.
So Kon gets kicked by the girl mod soul who is there as well, but both in stuffed animal form, of course. And that's when we do find out, we get a little bit of a flashback that before they left, they dispersed that night. Urahara told all of them not to say anything. It's like, listen, don't say anything. Yeah. He's like, don't say anything about Isshin or what you saw here to anybody. And Ichigo doesn't even, like, say anything to Kon. He's just like laying on the bed like whatever, I don't care. And so Kon goes out there and is like, listen, if you're gonna mope around and just be depressed all the time, then I'm gonna fucking leave, and pulls out the other mod soul girl and like they jump out a window.
Wow, fucking Kon, dude.
And so once outside, Kon kind of like, he's talking to the other mod soul because she's like, what the fuck, what was that? And he's like, listen, he's like, if you're a freeloader, you have to at least be considerate once in a while and actually be,
yeah, like a good guy.
So he left to be a good guy. He was like, he's clearly Ichigo's like feeling down and like depressed, so we should leave.
Give him some space.
Yeah, so he left like
That's
to give.
Good of Kon to read the room.
Yeah. So Ichigo basically says ever since his fight with Byakuya, he's been able to hear him referring to Ichigo.
Yeah.
Just kind of calling to him, and then we do get Ichigo talking to him at this point in his room, just laying down, and Ichigo basically teases him. He's like, listen, eventually I'm just going to keep getting closer and closer to you until eventually I swallow you up and you'll disappear.
Friends.
Yep. So he's basically like, yep, you have fun because I'm going to just get closer and closer and closer. And that's when Ichigo's sister, the older one with the black hair, Karin, I believe is her name, asks to come in.
Yes.
And she comes in and she's basically like, hey, what's been going on with you, Ichigo? Are you okay? Like, and Ichigo tries to play it off. And she, at this point, is like, listen, I know. And she says, I know all about your secret. I know you've been a Soul Reaper.
How does she... I don't remember. I knew she knew, like she could see, because then that sets up when she's being chased by the hollows.
Yeah, and she did a lot of stuff with the Karakura Risers. She's already done that with Genta and Uryū.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
They went around and fought hollows already. So we've known for a while that she could see hollows.
She throws a soccer ball at them,
But this is the first time, yes. This is the first time that she has told Ichigo that she knows that he's a Soul Reaper. So we see the research facility in Soul Society, and no Mayuri is there, and no, I don't even think Nemu is there, but it's just all the people on their computers, and they say they're picking up a reading in the east side of Karakura Town. They're here, is what they say, and then we see something crash down out of the sky into the park. So if you watched last Bleach Boys, we were having a discussion on who we think shows up first,
right? Was I right?
Ulquiorra and Yammy, or is it Grimmjow? It is Ulquiorra and Yammy.
I knew it. See, I was right.
So they do show up first. But before we even see that, we cut back to Ichigo. And he's basically like, a Soul Reaper? That's ridiculous, Karin. Like, what are you talking about? And I think you finally lost it. Like, trying to
fib his way out.
But she's not taking no shit. She's like, don't play dumb with me. I've been able to see them for quite a while now. And then she's like, at first I didn't understand why, but Don Kanoji kind of showed her, like, what's going on. And then we forget about him. The classic screen shake spiritual pressure thing. We're like, brrr.
I love that. I think that's such a cool effect.
Oh, shit. And then we see the younger Kurosaki sister, which I don't remember what her name is. Yuzu. But she's asking her dad, like, oh, is that an earthquake? Like, she thinks it's an earthquake. So she can feel it too. And she thinks that's an earthquake. Then we see Ichigo go to run off and jump out the window like a classic. But he's stopped by Karin. And they kind of look each other in the eyes. And Ichigo's like, I'm sorry. And then turns into a Soul Reaper form and jumps out the window. And we cut back to Soul Society again. We're doing a lot of cutting back and forth. Someone is telling Captain Commander that they've confirmed 2 Arrancars in East Karakura. And based off their spiritual pressure, density, and stability, we believe they are fully developed Arrancars.
Ooh.
And that's when we do see it is Yammy.
Little do they know.
Yeah. And a little important thing to know here, because it does come into play a little bit later. It's a little bit of a spoiler. We do see Tatsuki going for a run. She just finished working out of school because she's part of like the Kung Fu or whatever class. And she's like, I'm going to go take a run. I'll be back. And that's when we cut back to Yammy and Ulquiorra. And Yammy mentions he had been to the world of the living before.
Huh.
Like a long, long time ago. And he does say, hey, I've been here before when I was masked. So like as a regular hollow. And he's referring to just the world of the living as a whole.
So he wasn't referring to as during
I don't think specifically he's talking about Karakura Town, but he say, I've been to the world of the living before when I was still masked. So before he was a new Arrancar. And he's like, oh, it's interesting that everything is still the same. So it could not have been that long ago, really, that he was there.
I wonder if he was around sometime when Ichigo was still there. But he said it wasn't Karakura Town, right?
Yeah, well, he just says he's been to the world of the living before while he was still masked. So meaning when he was still just a regular hollow before he became an Arrancar. And everybody starts, because it's a park, so all of the park goers start inspecting this crater. Like, what the fuck is that? Because they can see the crater, they just can't see Yammy and Ulquiorra. Yammy is basically like, yo, stop staring at me, you fucking whack jobs. And he threatens to suck out all of their souls. And at this point, he starts doing that.
He takes that big inhale, right? And starts knocking people out.
He opens his mouth and just starts sucking in souls. And it goes so far at the area of the souls he's sucking in that we see Chad and Orihime, like on the other side of town, someone collapses right in front of them.
Damn, dude. They were at school, right?
They were just like walking in like one of the alleyways.
Of course, fucking alley kids.
Yeah, so it's like they collapse, and Chad and Orihime see that, and they immediately start running towards the direction of where the souls are being sucked to. And we get a nice scene where Chad makes Orihime promise, listen, if anybody is still alive when we get there, please focus on healing them.
Yeah.
Do not try and help with the fight, like focus on healing. And Yammy asks Ulquiorra how many people are they actually supposed to kill in the world of the living, like why are they there, what are they doing? Ulquiorra just says 1. And he's been told there are only 3 people that have anywhere close to enough spiritual pressure to put up a fight against them. Jose, let me ask you, what are the 3 people?
Ichigo, Urahara, and I don't know who the third person would be.
Okay. You did get 2 out of 3.
It's not Isshin, is it?
We'll cut to that in a second. Then they notice a survivor in the park of other people close to them because they sucked out all the souls, and basically everybody close to them has been fucked.
Anyone with weak spiritual
So
pressure,
they notice
right?
a survivor, and it's Tatsuki.
Oh.
Tatsuki is like crawling on the ground, still up. She can see both of them. She sees both of them.
Ulquiorra and
But
Yammy?
she's just,
Or does she just see like that weird little...
No, she sees both of them, completed, like full as day. She's unable to move as they kind of go over to her because the spiritual pressure thing is in effect, basically where weak people can't really move. And Yammy says if his Ganzui didn't suck out her soul, that she must have some pretty good spiritual pressure herself. So good recommendation for Tatsuki there, which I think she is one of the biggest missteps of all of Bleach.
They could have done something with her.
Yeah,
I always thought that.
She is super underutilized, and it's kind of sad because they set her up, and I like her character a lot. She's like a tough girl.
She could have been another fighter like Chad.
Yeah, but they don't ever use her for anything, which sucks. And he asked, like, Yammy asked Ulquiorra, like, hey, is she one of them? Is this one of them right here? And Ulquiorra is like, dude, her soul is literally about to be crushed by you just standing there, so no, she's trash.
I love Ulquiorra, too. He's just like, no.
Yeah. Then Yammy goes to kick her away, and that's when we see Chad show up and blocks the kick while Orihime is already next to Tatsuki trying to
heal.
Like, kind of take her away. She's not even going strictly for the heal. Because Chad then tells Orihime to take Tatsuki and leave. Yammy asks Ulquiorra again, hey, is this one of them? And Ulquiorra's like, yo, you really need to work on your investigative powers here. And he's like, he's trash. And so Chad charges up a big attack. We see a huge explosion. And Yammy just fucking punches Chad right in the dome. Like, Chad goes up, like, running, like, ah! He's like, bap! Just, like, fucking sends him flying.
Dude, I remember Chad got fucked
up. Chad didn't stand a chance. He gets knocked out from that, by the way, just instantly. And that's when we see they are going to go over and obviously finish up Chad. And then Orihime comes back, drops Tatsuki, okay?
Is it when she uses her Santen Keshu?
Yeah, so she fucking is so stupid. She's leaving with Tatsuki. She looks back. She hears Chad get fucking domed. They see that they're going to go finish off Chad. So she drops the already injured Tatsuki, goes back to save Chad, which just doesn't make much sense. And she's basically standing over Chad, like saying, please wake up, wake up. And Yami's like, Ulquiorra, what about her? She trash? Oh, the running gig.
Yeah.
Ulquiorra is once again, yes, she's trash. And that's when we get kind of like Orihime thinking to herself, like, these two are way too strong for either of them to stand up to, meaning Chad and her. But that's why Chad wanted her to stay away. So Chad kind of had the read on that. He was like, listen, it's like these two people are going to weigh way too much. So let me handle it and you leave.
Dip out. Yeah.
And she's realizing all this. Like, yo, he saved both of us by fighting, like as in her Tatsuki and her.
Like, he knew he was going to get hurt.
Oh, yeah. He knew he was
done.
And so Yammy goes to do a finger pointer stab at her. Like, yeah, I'll take her out really quick. And Orihime has her back to him. And that's when she does her Santen Keshu, and she puts up a shield, stopping Yami's attack. And then Yami is very confused by this.
Oh, yeah.
So she stops Yami's attack, and Yami's like, what? It's like, what is she? And then Orihime uses her powers to heal Chad's wounds while basically, like, staring down Yami. She's turning around this point.
Damn, so she went badass.
Yeah, she went really badass. And Ulquiorra is just watching at this point, kind of thinking and trying to figure out what her powers are. And that's when we kind of get his inner thoughts where he's like, it's not healing powers per se, but she's either reversing time or space. Yeah. Like, he puts that together almost instantly. And he says it's something he's never seen before. So she is a strange human, which he figures all that out almost instantly. And Orihime gets to think to herself as well. She's basically like, I just need to hold out until Ichigo gets here. But then she kind of like backtracks on that because she's like, why do I always just rely on Ichigo?
Yeah, I remember she starts kind of doubting herself a bit.
She says she doesn't want to be a burden to Ichigo anymore. She has to stand up to them without Ichigo. Like, she needs to do something besides just rely on Ichigo nonstop. And she can't do much, but she can at least do this. And that's when she calls forth her attacking version of her ability.
Oh, yeah.
And then she sends it to attack Yami. And Yami just blocks it with the palm of his hand.
Yeah, I remember he just slaps it away, I think.
And then he's like, what was this thing, a fly? And then it's just like, that's it. It was just like, what? That was nothing.
Can you imagine Yami, this giant-ass dude, and the little fucking thing?
Yeah, it was like a good try, I guess. And this is what I thought was really interesting here, Jose. Yami is the one to originally suggest that they should take Orihime back.
I thought it was Ulquiorra this whole time.
Yami sees that ability and the fact that she can heal, and Yami says something like, hey, should we take her back to show Aizen? Like, this weird human?
That would be smart, yeah. Makes sense.
Ulquiorra is the one to say no. Ulquiorra is like, no.
But then he's the one that gets sent to go get her.
Yeah. So, but the first time, Yami's like, let's bring her back. Then Ulquiorra's, no, that's not necessary. Leave her. And so he goes to attack Orihime again and finish her off because they got the no, we don't want her. And then Ichigo shows up. And he's looking pretty fucking cool when he shows up. Orihime immediately apologizes to Ichigo. And Ichigo's like, it's fine, whatever.
Like,
ain't no thing. And goes Bankai immediately.
Because he knows he has to.
Bankai. And so Yami asks Ulquiorra if this is the guy. And Ulquiorra's like, yeah, that's him. That's who we're here for. Yami goes to punch Ichigo. He blocks it with his sword. Yami, visibly sweating by the fact that he just got blocked by this little sword.
Because he's never been stopped before.
Ichigo jumps past him, cuts off his arm. Which is kind of, you think about it, let's just pause for a second. Knowing what we know in the future about the Espadas and all that stuff, the fact that Ichigo was able to very easily cut off Yami's arm was like an insane power.
Yeah.
Just right at the start. Crazy.
Because they're supposed to have really thick skin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So Yami goes to use his sword, and Ulquiorra's like, yo, the fact you have to use your Zanpakutō at all against him is really embarrassing.
Yeah.
And this freaks out Ichigo because this is kind of the first time that
he sees like a Arrancar.
An Arrancar, like a Zanpakutō, wielding a Arrancar. And so he starts to think, like, are they Visoreds? And that's when we get the switch to Ichigo. Ichigo is trying to come out at this point, but Ichigo, of course, won't let him.
He's suppressing it.
And because of that, Yami just pummels the fuck out of him at this point.
Yeah, I remember.
Because they're having like an inner conflict, and Ichigo's like, let me. And Ichigo's like, no. And then Yami beats the shit out of Ichigo. And Ulquiorra, once again, immediately notes something is going on with Ichigo. He says there's something weird going on with the spiritual pressure. It keeps fluctuating from normal to high. When it's low, it's inconsequential. But when it's high, it's higher than mine.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
But that's just him at that base level, right?
Yeah, I think base level, Ulquiorra, he does note, but it's like, yeah, it's weird because like normally like his low version, who cares?
Who cares, right?
But it fluctuates to really high, and it's like, fuck, okay, goddamn.
Like, shit, I'm going to have to fucking release.
Yep, so Yami, goes to do his final punch on Ichigo, and that's when he hits a red wall. And we see Ulquiorra and Yoruichi show up.
Ulquiorra?
Sorry, Urahara and Yoruichi. The two of them show up, and Yoruichi's basically like, yo, I got this one. Let me get this one. So Yoruichi basically starts to fight Yami, which I don't remember.
I do remember that she steps in.
In my mind, I remember for sure Urahara. I remember the both of them show up.
Urahara was there.
And I know Urahara does fight them.
Yeah.
But I did not remember the fact that Yoruichi just basically wrecks Yami.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even close. Like, just doing like kung fu moves and like spinning on his neck and shit.
Just like punching him down.
Takes
and
him
everything.
the fuck out. Does like some sweet ass combo and then knocks him out. Like, instantly knocks out Yami. So of course Yami eventually gets back up and he does a Sero. First time we see the Sero from the Arrancar.
Is it the red one?
Yep. Tries to do to Yoruichi. And then Yami, it hits, and Yami's like, ha, no one could have escaped that range. Easy money. But that's when the smoke clears and we see Urahara. Urahara stepped in. And he says, he's like, hey, if I just blocked the Sero, I would have been worried that others would get hurt. So I simply just responded with an attack of the same kind. And he's like, I'll be happy to demonstrate for you if you don't believe. And then immediately does Benihime again. And that's when we see.
He's so good.
He's so good. And that's when we see Ulquiorra steps in to block that attack. So he punches Yami in the stomach. And he basically calls him an idiot.
Ulquiorra does, right? Yeah.
And
he does the Vegeta Nappa thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And he says, and Ulquiorra's like, oh, this must be Urahara and Yoruichi then.
Mm-hmm.
And
was Yoruichi the other one that they had to kill?
Yes.
Okay, so it was them
three.
They
weren't coming to kill them. They were just on the list of potential threats.
Oh, okay.
They were just there for Ichigo. So Ulquiorra tells Yami, he's like, listen, at your current level, you wouldn't stand a chance against them.
Could you imagine if, knowing what we know, he went straight up to that form?
Yeah. Well, they do say, so they go to leave at this point. And Ulquiorra's like, job done. Let's go. Yoruichi tries to kind of prod them into staying in fight. And Ulquiorra turns around and is like, hey, listen, I'm sure you know well that trying to fight us while protecting the trash would be very difficult because there's a lot of people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on the floor, yeah.
So he's like, we're just going to head back and tell him that the Soul Reaper he was interested in has no value whatsoever. And then
damn, just says Ichigo shit.
Yeah. And we get Ichigo, starts feeling really guilty about the fact that Chad, Orihime, and Tatsuki got injured because of him. And that's when we get to see the, I believe it's the next day, the gang shows up. I'm talking Renji, Matsumoto, Itsugaya.
They're at school.
Yumichika, I believe is the guy's name.
Yumichika,
and
Ikaku, yeah.
And they say, like, hey, we're here on orders from above. There's been a Arrancar activity, and we've been sent here to team up with the Substitute Soul Reaper. So, and then Ichigo is just basically like, what's the Arrancar? Like, what's that? Because he doesn't know. Ichigo's the only one out of the loop. He has no idea. And they're in class because they show up, which they do a good job of tying it together because in the Bount arc, Renji is the one that goes to Karakura Town.
Yeah.
And so Renji basically shows them where the classroom is. Like, yeah, come on, guys. Like, let's go to the classroom.
I remember they all show up and they're all hanging out with Ichigo
they
at
all
the back.
show up. And so they explain that to Ichigo. And he's like, well, what's an Arrancar? And that's when we hear it's the guys who beat you up yesterday, you dumbass. And it's Rukia standing in the window of the classroom. Of course. And they kind of do a weird thing here where they have Rukia like shadowed out. Like they try to like, oh, who is it?
Who is it? But you can tell by the hair.
Yeah. But this is an interesting thing to note because canonically, let's say we cut out the Bount arc.
Yeah.
That makes sense because it's like, oh, we're not going to see her again for a while. Last time we saw her was a goodbye.
Yeah.
But in the Bount arc, she already came back.
Yeah.
We've already seen her. She's already come back.
Yeah.
So it kind of ruins the impact of that.
I agree, though, because they did that once before with something else, right?
Yes.
At the Bount arc?
Yes. So that I had a little bit of a problem with. I think it ruins the impact of Rukia coming back, but I am happy to see my girl back. And we do get an after-credit scene, which I want to mention here. And this is not the preview for next time, like I mentioned before. This is after credits as in...
There's like a little bit of lore.
They do like a little comedy thing at the end. So we see Ganju. He gets invited to the Squad 4 barracks for dinner, which is like Hanatoro and all of them. And he's having dinner with Unohana and Hanatoro and the vice captain of that squad, who I can't remember her name.
Is that his sister?
Yes. Not Hanatoro's sister, but the
silver-haired one, right?
Yeah, silver-haired one. Yep.
With the Jedi.
Yes, yeah, with the Jedi, with the Padawan hair.
With the Padawan hair, yeah.
And so they're making basically like a giant stew, but then they're like, oh, shit, Hanatoro, you forgot the meat. Like, what the hell? And Unohana's like, oh, don't worry, I have something prepared already. He's like, don't worry about it. And they eat the stew, and they're like, wow, how did you have this ready? This is so good. And he was like, yeah, I caught this meat wandering right outside the front door. So they just ate Ganju's boar.
Oh, no, I forget he rides around on a boar.
Yeah, Bonnie.
Oh, Bonnie.
Yeah, so they're eating it because
Ganju ate Bonnie?
So, yeah.
Oh, that's so fucked.
They fed Ganju's boar to him.
Oh, that's so fucked.
Because, like, they say that, he's gonna be like, Bonnie! It's like, I was like, what the fuck?
That's so fucked.
Yeah. I was like, holy shit. So, cut back to the actual canon stuff. I just thought that was fucked up. Holy shit.
Holy shit, dude. Ganju, I'm sorry.
So, Rukia jumps in the classroom and kicks Ichigo right in the face.
As always.
And she, like, kicks Ichigo in the face. He stumbles backwards. Renji grabs him. And then, like, Rukia punches him a couple more times. And then pulls him out into Soul Reaper form and drags him off. And Rukia takes him to fight a hollow, and basically is like, hey, there's a hollow down there, go fight it. And this part was a little weird because Ichigo's obviously in a funk because he feels bad. The visors are trying to get him. His boys just got fucked up. So, but he gets fucked by this regular hollow.
He just gets beat up by a regular hollow?
Yes.
Is he just that off his game?
He gets smacked around like a bunch, and then Rukia is basically saying the same thing, like, you shouldn't have a problem with the hollow like this. Like, what are you doing? So Ichigo knows that, and he goes to unwrap his sword because, it's like covered in the wrapping. And then he sees Ichigo again in his mind. So he's still like thinking about Ichigo, and Ichigo laughs. And basically he's just like, I'm getting closer and closer. And then he gets smacked again. Yeah, so Ichigo's really put him on the ropes. And this is when we get a nice speech from Rukia. Okay? So I want to remind everybody of the standings on this point really quick. After watching and reading the manga and anime the first time to completion, I'm talking 1,000 Year Blood War arc and everything, firmly in the camp of Ichigo and Rukia should have ended up together. All right? Rewatching the series, I started off, obviously, Ichigo and Rukia should end up together because they spend the most time
That's what
together.
happens, yeah.
But then we get the Renji Rukia flashback in Soul Society arc, and I'm in the camp of
Renji Rukia?
Renji Rukia, boy. Okay, so we get this speech from Rukia, and she basically says, I wrote down as much of the speech as I can. I'm going to butcher it. I'm sorry. She said, what are you afraid of? I know they hurt Orihime. They got Chad too. And he's like, are you really so weak you would give up because of something like that? Is it because you're afraid of losing, or are you afraid you won't be able to protect your friends? Or is it afraid of the hollow that you know is inside of you? So she knows.
So she knows. They probably filled her.
Yeah, I imagine Byakuya kind of let her know. She continues her speech. If you're afraid of losing, you just have to get stronger. If you're afraid of losing your friends, you just have to get stronger and make a vow that you'll never let them down. But if you're afraid of the hollow within you, you must not only become strong enough to destroy it, but pledge yourself that you will. And then she says, even if no one believes in you, stick out your chest and scream your defiance, because that's the type of man that I know you are. And she goes, I know it in my heart.
Aww.
Team Rukia and Ichigo, dog. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Dude, I saw that the first time. I was like, that shit was so good. Holy crap.
I wonder what made him change his mind, because it really does seem like it's supposed to be Ichigo Rukia.
I just think it was much easier to be like, oh, I kind of set up the stuff with Renji and Rukia, and then Orihime very clearly has a crush on Ichigo, so I'll just kind of plug and play. And of course, once he hears the speech, Ichigo defeats the worthless hollow like it's nothing. They both go back to their bodies, and Rukia drags Ichigo to Orihime and makes him apologize for being so weak.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah. And Ichigo apologizes and says he'll get stronger next time, so he won't let them hurt you again. And that's when we see the Soul Society gang all show up at Ichigo's room, and like, hey,
I remember
what
they're
up?
all like hanging out there.
They pop up through the ceiling light. They're like, hey, how's it going? And they're here to explain what Arrancars are to Ichigo. We get a fuck ton of lore here, like an insane amount of lore. Like, it's crazy. Okay. So Renji explains most of this, and we do get a little bit of the Rukia drawings at this point as well, but I didn't write anything down about that. So we do get them, but I'm just going to skip that. He says Arrancars are basically hollows, but ones that have removed their mask, which we've known before, and have gained the powers of both hollows and soul reapers. Until recently, they were few and imperfect, but now that Aizen has begun manipulating with the Hogyoku, mature, fully developed Arrancar are being born, like the two you ran into the other day. The Soul Society was willing to sit back and see if anything would develop with the Arrancars, but that was before Aizen got involved. So they knew about them way beforehand, obviously because Isshin knew about them. So they were watching them, but now that Aizen's there, it's like, oh, shit. We also had to deal with 3 of our captains going to the enemy side on top of all the uproar from the Bount incident. Yep. So they do kind of slide that in there. They're like, that did happen. Meanwhile, the fully developed Arrancar were completed much sooner than we expected. And now that they've been sent into this world, they can't sit back any longer. They selected a team to be sent here at once. Obviously, the team that has arrived that I described earlier. Selected by head captain Yamamoto. Central 46 has remained vacant since Aizen killed all the leaders of Central 46. So ultimate decision making goes to Captain Yamamoto. So he makes all the decisions at this point.
Makes sense.
Which is interesting to know. That's kind of like how someone would take power.
Yep.
He says, simply taking the mask off a run-of-the-mill hollow wouldn't result in anything particularly dangerous. So like if just some random hollow on the street decided, hey, I'm going to take off my mask, it still wouldn't be very powerful. Just wouldn't. The hollow would need to be menace level or above if they plan on taking the Soul Society on.
Yep.
So let's do a little bit of a quiz here, Jose. And I think you nailed one of them earlier. We learned that there are 3 different types of beings under the name Minnows.
It's like the Gillian, the Adhuchas, and then the Arrancars, I think. Something like that.
You got 2 of the 3. Do you want to take another guess at the last one? You know it. I know
it's Gillian, and I know it's Adhuchas. I forgot what the last one is. It's got a different name.
Okay, so the first and the lowest of them is the Gillian.
Yeah, that's the regular one we see.
Yes, that's the big one that shows up at the very beginning.
There is another one with like multiple eyes and stuff.
So for the Gillian, they explain there are many of them. Their main characteristic is they all look the same. This is the one that Ichigo defeated at the very beginning of the series. And they could be considered kind of the foot soldier of the Menos genre. They're big, they're slow, and their intelligence is only slightly higher than that of a wild animal. So he does mention that this type, so the Gillian, is hardly any trouble at all for a captain to subdue and kill one of them. So not that big of a deal. The problem is the next level, and this class is called the Adhuchas, somewhat smaller than the Gillians, and there are fewer of them compared to the other ones, but they are highly intelligent and much better fighters, and they control the large number of Gillians.
Okay, yeah.
So they're kind of like the commanders of that group of Gillians. And then we get the last class, the Vasto Lordes.
Vasto Lord. There we go. I did know it. I forgot what it was.
The highest class within the Menos. They are equal to humans in size, and there are very few of them in all of Hueco Mundo. These Vasto Lordes are believed to be even more powerful than the Soul Reaper captains are. So he does say exactly how much power the Menos have gained by turning into Arrancars are still unknown. But now that 3 captains have decided to lead the Menos, if Aizen has more than 10 of those Vasto Lordes under his control, then Soul Society is fucked.
Oh, then
obviously he doesn't say fucked. I just added that. So let me read a little bit more. Then I have a question for you, Jose, because your memory is better than mine. So we see Yammy and Ulquiorra at this point. They return to Aizen, and he's sitting on his classic throne chair. But at this point, I don't think they had like the kind of room set up like with like the long table that they wanted, because
it's just the throne room, right?
Yeah, well, he's in a giant room and there's a bunch of jagged rocks in the middle of it, and we see like a bunch of shadows of people on the rocks. So kind of like when we first see the Akatsuki from Naruto,
all like shadowy and
So we see them, and they're definitely not all Espada, because you can see like with what you know now who the shadows are. They are not all Espada. So. But they do say basically like Aizen gets lit up by a light, and he's like, hey, please go ahead and share what you learned in front of your 20 brothers. So they kind of try to trick you here and heavily imply that he has 20 Vasto Lordes.
Yeah.
Because they go hot off the press from, if he has even 10 Vasto Lordes, we're fucked. And then Aizen's like, please,
I have 20.
Please share what you know in front of your 20 brothers. And it's like, okay, so we're just playing tricks here. Aizen asks Ulquiorra to show what he learned in the world of the living, and at this point, Ulquiorra pulls out his left eye.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And crushes it, causing glitter to go everywhere.
He's just like Gaara.
Yeah. And then, like, Aizen kind of does like the, just like leans back. He's like, oh, I see.
He inhaled it all.
And then we get the first appearance of Grimmjow here.
My boy.
Yep. He calls them both weak for not having killed Ichigo then and there. And Ulquiorra says, like, listen, as Ichigo is now, not a problem. Who cares? And he's like, what Aizen is concerned about is his growth rate. So that's why they went to go see Ichigo, because he thinks he has an abnormal growth rate.
Yeah, he's just leveling up like fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah. And they say the boy has tremendous potential right now. His powers are unstable, but he may be useful to us in the future. So Ulquiorra thinks that at some point, so I think this obviously doesn't come to fruition at all.
Yeah.
But I have to think that Ulquiorra was hoping the hollow side of him would take over and then they could use him.
That makes sense, yeah.
Because it doesn't ever come up again, the fact that they wanted to use him. But he does finish it by saying, if he does become a threat, I personally will take him out. As an Ulquiorra will take him out. And we get a scene with Tatsuki in her room, thinking about how she saw Ichigo as a Soul Reaper running off at the original fight. And then we get to cut to Orihime, who finally admits she's jealous of Rukia and Ichigo.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah.
And that's when it all starts spiraling down.
Yep. And then Ichigo's friend, can you remember the name of Ichigo's friend? Is it Keigo?
Keigo, the brown-haired dude?
Yeah, is it Keigo?
Or not the one that's on his phone all the time.
Yeah, the brown-haired dude.
Yeah,
dude. I think it's Keigo. So Keigo sees a hollow flying in the sky, and it looks kind of like a dragon hollow almost. And that's when we see the sky open and Grimmjow appears in the sky.
Oh, that's right. That's when he takes...
Yes. So let's pause for a second, Jose. Because before we get too far away, I want to ask you a question.
See.
From memory... how many of the Espada are actually Vasto Lordes?
How many of the Espada?
Because here's what I'm thinking, and I don't know. I haven't looked it up. I don't think all of them are Vasto Lordes. I seriously don't think all the Espada are Vasto Lordes.
I thought they all had to be Vasto Lords before they turned into Espadas.
I don't think so. No? I think the Espada are just the top 10 ranked, so like the 10 strongest. Like that's what an Espada is. But I think, and I'm totally guessing here, Jose, you have a better memory than me, so you might be right. I feel like it's the top 5. I seriously think it's the top 5 that are Vasto Lordes.
I'm trying to remember who was in the top 5.
So you obviously know the top 3. And then Ulquiorra.
And Noatra.
Yeah.
Noatra's number 5, Grimmjow being 6.
Yeah. So I seriously think it was the top 5.
I don't remember.
Because, so now let's do process of elimination here. Grimmjow. He's not a Vasto Lorde, is he?
I don't know.
Because he started off as a Panther, right?
Yeah, What was that?
He was a unique one.
Yeah, he was very unique because he ate everybody else. Yeah, and then gained the following.
You know what, guys? If you make it this far in the podcast, leave a comment. How many of the Espada are Vasto Lordes? Because I don't think it's all of them. I really don't think so. I think only a certain amount of them were Vasto Lordes, because they say if there's 10, they're fucked. So I don't think all 10 of them were. So I'm going to come back to the recap here. So everybody kind of disperses to go hang out for the night. Orihime goes with Rangiku and eventually Hitsugaya, but Hitsugaya kind of stays on the roof. He doesn't want to come inside. And Chad or Rukia stays with Ichigo, of course.
You're right. It was the top 5.
See, that's what I'm thinking.
So according to this, the total number of Vasto Lord class Menos is 5, being Ulquiorra, Howell, Baragon, Stark, and Wonderwise. So not even Noatra.
Whoa, okay, Wonderwise. So it's not the top 5, it's top 4.
Yeah.
Oh.
But because Wonderwise was experimented and made to fight Captain Commander kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And it says Lilynet is technically considered one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
But I guess like she's part of Stark though, right? They're like kind of like one whole thing.
Yeah, they're a whole thing because it's like, so I just looked up and I guess it sent me to Quora.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. So potentially that is accurate. It's on Quora, so that means somebody just answered it. So at this point, Orihime kind of opens up to Rangiku because Rangiku goes to Orihime's house to take a bath.
Oh, it gets really weird.
Yeah, it does get really weird.
I remember.
Orihime opens up to Rangiku about how jealous she is of the fact that Rukia was actually able to cheer up Ichigo. And she gets kind of starts being depressed, and she's like, they have such a special chemistry, and starts crying. And at this point, I would like to say Rukia and Ichigo forever, baby. Fuck Orihime. Fuck them. And that's when we see the rest of Grimmjow's gang show up. There's 5 other Arrancar that show up as well. He tells them to open their like Pizzikas or Pisquizas. And basically they have like a radar. And they basically do like send out like a sonar thing, and they sense all the spiritual pressure around them so they can pick up on the strong people who have spiritual pressure. And they can tell there are more people than the original amount that Ulquiorra reported, because obviously when Ulquiorra was there, Hitsugaya and gang was not there yet. So they're like, oh, there's more than what Ulquiorra reported. And they do this weird thing. I thought it was interesting. They flashed around, quickly showing pictures of all the people with the spiritual pressure. You know, they like, oh, we sent 7 spiritual pressures. And it goes boom, 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 boom. And it shows everybody.
And then they split.
Yeah. So some of the people they showed, one of them was Chad, who is knocked out at this point in time, but they still sense Chad. Tatsuki and Keigo also come out.
Yeah, because Keigo does see stuff.
So the only one who we at this current point in time, I don't know if he ever actually does. We don't know who doesn't see the hollows is the glasses guy.
Yeah, the guy with on his cell phone the whole time.
He's the only one that we have no idea, and I don't remember if he ever does see hollows.
I don't think so. Even towards
is he part of the Karakura Risers when they become like a superhero squad?
I don't think so. I think it's Keigo.
Yeah, Keigo for sure. But I thought I was like, okay, we're gonna pick on the weak ones here. It's like, so they kind of get sensed by Rukia as well at this point, and Rukia says that they're clearly not interested in the quality of the spiritual pressure. They're just making a hit list of everybody to take out. They're like, yep, we're going to take them all out. Here we go. And she says anybody with any spiritual pressure at all is being targeted.
Damn.
And so Ichigo
sisters.
Yeah, that's a great point to say. They're not shown at all. So I don't know if they're
both of them can sense spiritual pressure.
Yeah, I don't know if they're just like they were too weak to even show up, or I don't know the reason, but they weren't on the list because Ichigo immediately puts together. He's like, oh fuck, Chad and Orihime, and he does mention that Uryū should be fine because he doesn't have any spiritual pressure. Because like, oh cool, we're good, we're good, we don't have to worry about Ishida. And Ichigo also immediately puts together like, okay, you know, Matsumoto Rangiku is at Orihime's house, she should be fine. But Chad is fucking knocked out.
Yeah, he's by himself.
So, and that's when we see a couple of nobodies that I will call nobody Arrancars. They show up to fight Hitsugaya and Rangiku, they're both at Orihime's house. And one tries to attack Hitsugaya. He gets introduced as the 11th Arrancar. So he is seat 11.
I thought it was the other guy with the mustache.
No, number 11 is the guy who fights Hitsugaya. The guy, are you thinking of Don Panini? Is that you're talking
Panini,
about? He's like 100.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then we cut to Chad, and we find out that did you know this, Jose? Orihime can leave her stuff to heal, like when she's not there, because the whole time Chad was being healed by Orihime's like fairy thing.
Oh, I didn't know she could leave him there.
Yeah, but Orihime's like at home doing something else, and Chad was still being healed. So it's like she can like remote connect or some shit and do that.
Damn, she was broken.
Yeah,
she was broken as fuck.
Chad gets up and basically tells like the fairy thing, like, "Hey, go back to Orihime. I'm good. I'm gonna go out." And that's when we see an Arrancar show up in front of Chad, and he's about to get attacked, and then Ichigo shows up and saves Chad, of course. So Chad notes, and like Chad, so as with it is with every beginning of an arc, there's a lot of I need to get stronger going on.
Everyone's like, I got to train. You got to become a badass.
Because at this point, Chad is kind of like, he thinks to himself, I would have died right here if Ichigo didn't show up. And so Chad offers to help Ichigo, but Ichigo's like, no, just leave. Like, you need to leave. Like, I'll handle it. Leave. Chad says he wants to help out, but Ichigo's like, no. It's like, please leave. Like, just leave. So Chad says he understands and he runs off. And he's looking really depressed. And he runs by Rukia, who's like, Chad, wait. And Chad is like too deep in thought.
To realize it.
Basically thinking that Ichigo doesn't trust him anymore to have his back. And Chad wonders if he'll ever be able to fight by Ichigo's side again because, he's just so weak. And he just keeps running. Some say he's still running to this day.
Run, Forrest, run.
So Rukia sees all this happen, and she's like, listen, let me take this fight because you're way too tense and you're going to die. It's like, if you take this fight like you are now, like all fucking stressed out and wired, you're going to die. And that's when we see her pop out her soul candy, and we see her in her soul Reaper form officially. And Ichigo is very surprised by this, but once again, we've seen this already. We've seen Rukia in her soul Reaper form already. So it kind of ruins that as well. Rukia explains basically how she, because even in the Bount arc, she wasn't fully healed, you would say.
Yeah,
like,
she was still injured technically.
Like, she couldn't really do much. So Rukia explains that she wanted her spiritual energy to come back, so she had to stay in the Soul Society, which is overflowing with Reishi. And she says that even though Soul Reapers can't absorb Reishi as rapidly as the Bounts could, because remember, they could just heal forever, they do still have that power.
So they can technically heal while they're there.
So Soul Reapers can like slowly absorb Reishi.
So I wonder if Ukitake has something that isn't letting him absorb Reishi, since he's constantly dying.
And she says she originally was just supposed to hang out in Soul Society and chill out and like just kind of slowly let it get her powers back. But then the Aizen Rebellion happened and the Bounts, and it fucked everything up. So before coming back here, she had Orihime heal her wounds, and then her spiritual energy was good as new. She's good to go.
Oh, wow, she's great. Could have used Orihime the whole time.
Rukia is fighting Arrancar number 16. I didn't bother to write down their names because
they're nobodies.
Rukia basically one-shots this Arrancar.
Damn.
So I don't know if you even remember who I'm talking about, but she does her move where she makes the giant circle of ice on the ground.
Oh, and like she pulls the like sword sideways and then...
She doesn't do the sword sideways because I think when she does the sword sideways, she shoots the ice that direction. She just does the one where she makes the giant circle on the ground. And so the Arrancar starts to get frozen. Like, but then he's like, oh, I'll just jump in the air. Like, what's the big deal? It's like, you can't... It's like, sure, you can freeze the ground, idiot. But I'm in the air and the air is my domain. And then she's like...
one, right? Or whatever?
It's kind of... He looks kind of like a tiger almost. Like a... He's kind of got like claws. So, in case you forgot, Jose, as the Arrancar sorely misstepped, it makes basically, it freezes anything in the circle. So it doesn't matter if it's in the air or if it's in the ground.
It still gets frozen.
It gets frozen. So then we see a giant beam shoot up in the sky, and he gets frozen and cracked and instantly dead. Rukia one-shots this Arrancar. And this is when we see Rukia as Gigai, which was a really funny scene because it's got like a quirky girl personality. And like it's just basically holding Ichigo down so he can't fight. But the Gigai explains that Rukia Zanpakutō is the most beautiful of all of Soul Society.
I do remember, yeah.
Which is a thing that they do bring up later in the 1,000 Year Blood War arc. They do talk about that. And she also says that the Gigai explained this once again, that Rukia is strong enough to be a ranked position. So like a vice captain of like a squad. But once she gets that position, the difficulty of her missions will greatly increase. So she'd be in much more danger. So a certain someone has removed her off the list of potential candidates.
Byakuya, dude.
Yep. And then we see a super strong spiritual pressure show up. We get the brrrr.
That's my boy.
Grimmjow.
That's my boy.
Grimmjow shows up on the scene. And so we get a nice little scene with the other Arrancar who are there sensing that the Arrancar number 16 has been defeated. Who his name, by the way, is D. Roy.
Yeah, I do remember the name now, yeah.
And they basically shit on him. So
they're
he
like,
just
he
died.
Was weak.
Yeah, they're like, he was never much of a warrior, even with Aizen's guidance. It's like, we weren't going to bring him, but he begged to come, so we brought him. Rip. And they're like, whoever went up against him was really lucky. I was like, wow, I'd be pissed, dude. I'd be haunting the fuck out of those dumbasses. So we see the Afro Soul Reaper guy run past Keigo, who's out. He's getting something from the vending machine.
Yeah.
And he's like, yo, if you stick around, your life expense is going to be $0, dog. You need to leave. So then he keeps running. And, of course, Keigo doesn't listen. And that's when Ikaku busts through the wall right next to him.
I love Ikaku, dude. Yeah.
And they're fighting the Arrancar. He has, like, kind of a red mohawk. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
And Ikaku gets knocked towards Keigo.
Is he the bold
the bold.
One of them turns into like a bowl thing.
No, not this guy. Not this guy. Then Ikaku is like on the ground next to Keigo, and he's like, "Hey, Keigo." He doesn't know his name, but he's like, "I have a proposition for you." He's like, "We're looking for a place to stay because Ikaku and Yumishika didn't have a place to stay." So like, listen, as I see it, you're about to get killed by this guy here.
Fucking Ikaku, dude. He's so fucking funny. I love him.
If you give us a place to stay, I will personally protect you from this guy. And of course, Keigo's like, Yep, okay, thank you. Do it, please.
So does Keigo just live by himself?
Yeah, I suppose. They don't. I haven't got to see his house yet, so I don't know. And then this is when the Arrancar introduces himself as Arrancar number 13. So if we're keeping track, number 16 just got killed by Rukia. Number 11 is fighting Hitsugaya. And then number 13 is fighting Ikaku. And so he gives him his number, but not his name. So Ikaku kind of at this point is like, listen, surely we're different because you're a Hollow, I'm a Soul Reaper. But I make it a point to always let my opponents know the name of their killer. Yeah. So he introduces himself, and he says he teaches his pupils to do the same because if you're he says if you're prepared to die in battle, you should die knowing the name of the person who defeated you. So there you go. And this Arrancar fighting Ikaku says that Arrancar have iron skin. Yeah. Which is what we talked about before. Which is a little weird that Ichigo is just able to fucking slice and dice Yami like that. Because Ikaku's having a real hard time even leaving a scratch on this guy. And so he does say that no weapon can penetrate it, so I'm just going to fight you barehanded. This is what the Arrancar is stating. And we get the Kenpachi Squad classic here, where Yumichika shows up and just watching the whole time. Yeah. Not getting involved.
1v1.
Yep.
He's like, it's a man's thing.
Yep. So Ikaku's strategy, he attacks, I don't know if you remember, he attacks with a sword in the left hand, the hilt in the right hand. Yeah. When he doesn't have a Shikai released. So that's how he attacks, which is a pretty cool fighting style, honestly. So the Arrancar picks that up. He's like, "Oh, easy." It's like, I already know what he's doing. It's like, what is he doing? And then they do a clash. Some dust blows up. Ikaku goes to attack again, and he swapped hands. So So he swapped his sword to his right hand and his hilt to his left hand. So the Arrancar thought he was blocking the sword. He blocked the hilt, and then he gets slashed. And Ikaku congratulates the Arrancar on this one. He's like, "Hey, this is a good fight, man." He's like, "Listen, you managed to knock out a couple of my teeth." But he goes, which. This is interesting, Jose. He goes, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just have Akon give me a deal on some new ones when I get back. So I guess they just have replacement teeth
on hand?
On hand and ready to go in the Soul Society.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Not that big of a deal, dude. It's like, get teeth knocked out. Yeah, we got some new ones, dude. Don't worry about it. So the Arrancar then releases his Zanpakutō at this point because he's like, okay, you slashed me. We'll release it. Clearly, I have to teach you a lesson. Here we go. And then we cut back to Grimmjow. Grimmjow is asking which one of them is the strongest, which I want to take a second here before I even continue this paragraph. I do not like Grimmjow's voice in the English dub.
His English voice, I do not like it.
It's really bad. It doesn't match the actual Grimmjow. I think that was horrible. No offense to the guy they cast, but I think the casting was bad. And he's basically asking who's going to take me on. Which one of you is the strongest? Rukia, being the smart thing that she is, she immediately notes how much different he is compared to the one that they just fought because he's number 6 and they just did 16.
10 levels ahead.
And so she tells Ichigo to retreat. Like, yo, leave. Like, doesn't
Grimmjow just immediately?
Yes. So Rukia says retreat. Grimmjow goes down, stabs Rukia right in the stomach. And then says, I didn't think it was you. And fucking hell.
My boy.
People are getting goddamn roasted left and right. So we cut back to Ikaku at this point, and then we learn an Arrancar's Zanpakutō is sealed with the core of his power in his body. Arrancar take on their true forms to achieve their full power through the release of their Zanpakutō. Yeah. So they're basically just explaining how it works. And then the Arrancar launches a fire attack because he's kind of like, he's released, he's got kind of like big shoulder things, and he shoots out fire.
Yeah, I remember him now.
Yeah. And Ikaku gets sent flying back. And this is, I thought this part was really interesting. This isn't so much of a lore dump, but I liked this part a lot because it shows a lot of how it works. Yumichika sees Ikaku get sent back flying. And so he pulls out his phone, calls up Soul Society. Yeah. And he's like, hey, the destructive power of the enemy vastly exceeds the estimations that we were given. So we're going to need you to put up an area freeze of a radius of 300 units around Ikaku.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that.
Yeah. And he's like, the cost of the damage of the buildings will come out of the mission budget because obviously they're going to destroy a lot of shit. Yeah. And he does say, unfortunately, souls will be trapped in the target area as well. And our number one priority, as always, will be to protect those souls. And then he does add as well, probably do the same to all the other Soul Reapers as well as Ichigo, because I can expect an increase in power of the same. Yes, he does.
Okay.
And then he ends it, final sentence, Hirose, and begins squad funeral preparations for Ikkaku Madarame.
Oh, no. Yep. I don't remember that at all.
Yep.
So he's immediately like, Ikkaku's going to die.
Yeah. And so the Arrancar smacks Ikkaku again, and he says that the battle strength of an Arrancar increases exponentially when his Zanpakutō is released. So, bye-bye to Ikkaku at that point. He jumps up to finish Ikkaku, and then Ikkaku finally releases his Zanpakutō, so is now into his staff form. And then he just lights Ikkaku on fire again. Because what a dummy. He switched to a staff form, and the guy was like, okay. It's like, sure, I'll just light you on fire again. So Ikkaku slams to the ground. He's looking real fucked up at this point. We're getting to the end here. He goes to finish Ikkaku, but he blocks. And he basically, he goes like to do a punch down, basically slam him down. And Ikkaku is still like kind of blocking with his back, but we see that his Zanpakutō has been broken.
Oh, that's right.
Which if he was a Bount, he would be dead here, by the way. And Ikkaku says he didn't want to use this, but since everybody's off fighting somewhere else, I suppose nobody else will notice. Bankai time, baby.
Wait, I thought he had to get his limiter removed for that.
Nope. You just go straight.
He just goes straight into it?
Yep.
Oh.
And so Yumichika sees this, and he's surprised. He's like, wow, he actually decided to use it. So I think Yumichika just thought he was going to die not using the Bankai.
Yeah.
So he was not expecting that. And, of course, this also means Yumichika knew he had it. And they fight. The Arrancar keeps thinking of ways to attack him. And the whole time we get a stop bubble, Ikkaku is basically just getting complimented over and over by this Arrancar. He's like, he's such a good fighter, so that Bankai only works off of the prowess of the guy using it, and he's good and he's smart and he knows. It's like, Jesus, suck his dick already. Oh my God. So we get an explanation from Ikkaku that his weapon is actually, it's when he uses it, it's usually asleep.
I remember he has to wake it up.
He has to wake it up by letting the enemy slash him up or him slashing the enemy up, and it fills up the red bar of the dragon on the back.
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes fully awake, and that's when we get the end of the last episode that I watched.
Do we get to see his Bankai again?
So in the series, we do get to see his Bankai again, but I don't think it's so much later.
Yeah.
We do the next episode that we'll pick up on with next time. We do get flashbacks of Ikkaku and Yumichika.
Okay. So like we do get to see them, and everything.
Yeah, and like I think when they first met and things like that. And then we will, of course, see the end of all of these fights, really.
Yeah.
That will be on the next one. So we're kind of deep into this because after this,
how fast it moves, though.
It goes very fast. Because after this, we move immediately into Grimmjow goes back, gets his arm cut off.
Oh, my boy.
Then Ichigo goes to trains with the Visoreds. It's like that's just what happens immediately afterwards. And then, I mean, once they're done training with the Visoreds, do they fight again in Karakura Town? Or do they go to Huecamundo?
Ichigo and Grimmjow fight one more time. Okay. And he fights one-armed. And he's about to release his his move, but then it's stopped by I think Aizen or Ulquiorra.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the yellow beam comes. He's like, he's like, you just got saved, Soul Reaper. You're about to see my true power.
Oh, I don't remember that. Okay, yeah. So we're deep into the I don't know, Arrancar Visored arc. Been fantastic so far. The burns,
I remember liking it so much.
I took a lot of fucking notes this time, like so much because I watched it when I'm working out. I had to keep stopping and rewinding, and it's like because they were just lore dumping constantly. And I was like, fuck. It's like, you guys just said so much shit in 30 seconds. It's like, I have to go back and figure out what you just said. And which I do think is the case, there's not a lot of lore at the end. I don't remember there being a lot of lore. Like, once they're in
Aizen.
Well, once they're in, like, Huecamundo and fighting, I don't think we get any.
I think they talk a little bit about Grimmjow gets his backstory then, I think. Oh, yeah. Or like around then.
We do. Every time somebody dies, we do get their backstory.
Yeah, remember?
That is right.
That's the Bleach thing.
That is right. Oh, shit.
So you're about to get lore dumped.
Yeah. So, and then we do find out how visors work and stuff like that. So there is a lot more coming up. Oh, yeah. Fucking hell. Okay.
You remember Ulquiorra's? I don't remember if Ulquiorra's was actually in the...
I'm not sure.
Anime. He had his own little couple of chapters that were crazy, and it talks about how he was just alone and born alone. And
I'm not sure I remember
finds a tree and whatever.
So, yeah, we have a lot of shit coming up. And then once we get to the Battle of actual Karakura Town, it's going to be litty. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Because I don't think I've ever watched... I don't remember... Do you remember when we stopped watching the anime?
I stopped watching it right after the
Because I know for a fact we were reading the fight of Karakura Town.
I think when we all decided to start reading it was when Grimmjow got introduced.
Okay.
I do remember
because we definitely 100% we definitely were reading, I think before the Ulquiorra fight too.
Yeah, we read it and we're like, oh my god, this is gonna be so badass.
Yeah, like we read that for sure. So I definitely don't know when exactly we started, but a lot of that stuff will be the first time of me actually seeing it in anime form.
Oh wow, really?
So yeah, because I have not gone back and watched that.
I remember I watched it all the way through the Aizen arc and then just stopped.
Because I've even as a whole, I've only seen parts of
the Karakura.
Well, no, I mean like the main Aizen versus Ichigo fight in anime form.
Yeah.
I've only seen parts of it, so I'm really looking forward to getting to that stuff. It is worth noting that the 1,000-year Blood War arc stuff. Who knows when that shit's gonna come out?
It's not gonna be next year anymore.
Yeah,
it might be pushed back till the end of next year.
But that stuff will be good, and we can rewatch that for sure.
Oh, watch parties.
Yeah, that'll be really good. And then there's the movies and stuff, and I haven't seen the live action one, so
I watched the live action one.
Yeah,
it's different in a sense where it like skips certain parts and then it just fast forwards a lot of it.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
Okay, well, let's call it there. That was a long boy because I fucking had a lot of notes.
Yeah.
So that has been Bleach Boys number 5. We are firmly into the Visored Arrancar arc of it. Grimmjow's here. They're attacking. They're doing their first assault. Grimmjow's being a whiny baby bitch. And his voice sucks in the English dub. So thanks for watching. That has been Bleach Boys 5, as I said. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We do appreciate it. We appreciate you watching and listening. If you have any comments, questions, if you know exactly how many Vasto Lords there are in the Espada, be sure to let us know because Quora says 5. So that's what we're going to go with. This has been Sam and Jose. We'll see you guys next time.